Hi everyone. So today I am going to present CS Dojo and other YouTuber also. Those guys are mostly related with DSA or software engineering in general. And these guys are very vocal earlier with the programming, coding and related fields. Now how they are seeing the 2024 and onward direction in software industry, especially for programmer or engineers. Let's listen these guys. Okay, so let's listen first the CS Dojo.
Is AI replacing software engineering? I'm going to show you a lot of data, a lot of charts. I'm going to try to define what this question even means in the first place. So we'll get started. First of all, the first piece of tech that will come to a lot of people's minds when I ask this question is called DevOn. DevOn, they claim to be the first AI software engineer, and the claim is highly, arguable and debatable. But at least on this particular data set called Sweetbench, that's a data set of real-world software engineering issues on open source Python projects. They were able to show that their fully autonomous AI software engineering system was able to solve about 14% of those GitHub issues. And then later on, this other one called Factory Code Droid came about, and they say they were able to solve about 19% of those issues. This other one called Aider said they were able to solve about 19% of those issues as well. And when you look at these numbers, you might say, that looks pretty impressive, and it is. Is AI replacing software engineering? I'm going to show you a lot of data, a lot of charts. I'm going to try to define what this question even means in the first place. So we'll get started. First of all, the first piece of tech that will come to a lot of people's minds when I ask this question is called Dev. But there are a couple of things to keep in mind. One is that they're not necessarily random 19% of those issues, not completely random. They're more likely to be on the easier side of the issues, both for humans and AI. And then the other thing is, this doesn't say anything about the quality of the PRs and the contributions. But still, you might say, with this.
Here at this point of time, I would like to mention that whatever CS Dojo is saying, that is, I agree partially with his whatever he is saying, but I am not agree with fully because this data is not primarily considering that when you consider overall approach, which is primarily focusing as of now like agentic approach in solving the uh, any programming or debugging or coding challenges or debug bug fixing or I mean overall software engineering tasks. And if you use multi-agent kind of concept in your approach, you will be very much ahead than these 19%, 80, 90%. And also it it is having a capability to solve even the complex problem. And it is because I have created my own system where I can able to solve almost most of the hard problem, not most of the same as of now, it is like 25% hard category problem from lead code. So it means that if I am able to solve it, then if I can tweak little bit more and I will do some more better approach, then definitely this capability will grow to up to 50%. That is what I am seeing it at as of now. And if this is the way I'm thinking, then I'm pretty sure that many smart people in the world who can do better than that, and even he can replace 100% of tasks from the software engineering. That is what I am thinking. Let's continue the listening.
Strong kind of improvement. Is AI replacing software engineering? The way I like to personally think about it is kind of like self-driving. If a company came about and said, we developed a self-driving system that's able to drive autonomously on 20% of all public roads, I would say, okay, that's pretty impressive, but that's not quite as good as it would need to be able to replace driving completely in that particular analogy. And same thing with software engineering. And the fundamental problem to me is that AI, the way it's currently developed, it doesn't think like a human does. It is really intelligent at certain tasks. It is able to solve certain types of tasks. It doesn't always know what we want. It doesn't have a desire like people do. So
No, but at this point also, I do not agree here because I think that it is only the way you are seeing it. If you change little bit the context, I mean to say that if you properly think like how human is thinking, or whenever you are solving any problem, what are the paradigm you are thinking? If you just simulate this approach into the system or into the AI system which is currently available to us, you can replicate it very well, and that is what I feel. So I think it is not right to assume that how human is thinking, our system is generally at this point of not thinking, because it is not actually designed for that complete replacement of human as of now. But once you go for a little logical system, which is primarily the focus going forward, then it is definitely you will see the higher side of result.
So it's fundamentally different, and that's really where we need to come in as humans and kind of work with AI to get the results we want. And I wanted to show you a concrete example of that here, and that is this event I'm hosting in San Francisco in a few days. I'm actually flying out there tomorrow for that. It's called AI Dev Tools Night, and for this event, I asked a few questions during the registration process. I said, how did you hear about this meetup, and would you like a chance to try this open source coding assistant, SourceGraph Cody? And I wanted to use AI to analyze these responses. Basically, I wanted to use AI to write Python to visualize these responses. So I went ahead and downloaded a CSV version of the survey responses, and then I cleaned it up. I anonymized, of course, very important, and then I uploaded it to ChatGPT, and I said, can you make charts out of these survey responses? And the result I got looked like this. So it might be kind of hard to see, but on the right, it's not too bad. It is showing a graph of how many people said yes versus how many people said no. But on the left, what it's doing is it's trying to categorize each slightly different response to this free-form text question as a different category. But that's not what it should do. What it really should do is it should kind of manually inspect all the responses and then categorize them sort of manually using Python. But it didn't know.
I also want to share my small bit here that it is possible little bit you tweak in prompt, and you can give the one short or few example, then definitely that will be possible. So I think you missed that point. That is why you will get such kind of result.
To do that. Like I said, AI sometimes doesn't know what we want as people. So that's where I needed to come in and go back to the beginning of the conversation, and I needed to kind of go step by step. I needed to first ask, do you understand this data in the first place? Yes or no, and I needed to give it the same data in a textual format. It's the same CSV data, but I needed to copy and paste it in a textual format. And then after that, I need to ask it to make pie charts out of these, while grouping similar categories and ignoring non-responses. And I needed to give it a lot of details.
Is Kafka and Zookeeper really that important? Many Fortune 500 companies use these open source products for real
like that. And then on top of all of that, I needed to upload the CSV file again, and then I needed to say, remember this data is the same as the textual format data I gave you. You just need to define the categorization and grouping with Python. So I needed to go through a lot of work. It took me a significant amount of work to go through that, and then finally I was able to get it to produce Python code that produced satisfying results. So here you might ask, did AI replace software engineering or coding, whatever you want to call this particular example? And in a way it did, because I didn't have to write the underlying Python code. AI did it for me. But at the same time, I needed to go in as a human software engineer, with some knowledge of Python, data visualization, the service structure, and all of that, to kind of instruct it to do exactly what I wanted. I needed to really work with it. So AI, as it currently stands, it's not ready to replace software engineering on its own completely, but we are moving more into this world.
Yes, here I also fully agree that at this point of time, AI is not matured in such a way that it is going to replace software engineer tomorrow. It is just a way you can perceive it as, like, it will go eventually, but it will go to the step-by-step manner. First level of action will happen, the company where people want to optimize the strength, want to optimize the cost. In that place, some impact will happen. Later it will go to hardcore area where the middle management will get, especially the middle one, not the top, not the bottom, middle one. Middle management people will be replaced because you don't need such a layer at very heavy level, right? Very thick level. So that would be little lighter, and then after that it again come to the improvement layer where you don't require even coding by anybody. You only need someone will code it, and then it like loop in the man in the loop kind of things, where you will be involved but very very small uh, time allocation for you to do such tasks, some specific tasks whose expertise might be with you, and you will quickly verify it, and then you can proceed. Okay, it is done, and you will say that okay, this is okay result, and you will give them to proceed further like that. Okay.
Where line by line coding matters less, and coding by chat or coding with AI matters more. We need to work with AI, and some people call that chat-oriented programming, or CHOP for short. So to me, a more relevant question here is AI replacing software engineering jobs? And I like to put this question in perspective by visualizing it this way. So in this chart, the area above the line represents the number of software engineer jobs that are available in that particular year. And the area inside the circle represents the number of software engineers that are available, let's say, in the world. And as you probably know, in 2020, 2021, the market was much better for software engineers, more software engineer jobs. So it was much easier for a typical software engineer to get a job, keep a job, and get a raise. But this year, it's much harder, fewer software engineer jobs, and it's hard for a typical engineer to do all of those three things. And the question you might ask here is, in a few years, is it going to look like this, where the market is even harder? Or is it going to look like this, where the market is slightly easier with more software engineering jobs? This is a tough question to answer, partly because AI is not the only factor that goes into this. It's only one of the factors, and it's probably not even the main factor, in my opinion. One of the main factors that goes into it is actually the interest rates. So for the past few years, the interest rate has gone up, and at the same time, the number of software engineering jobs has gone down. So there's a seemingly strong correlation there. But you might say, okay, what is AI's effect in particular on jobs though? There are kind of two sides to this argument. It says each software engineer is going to be more productive, from what I've seen, 20 to 30% more productive, and therefore we'll need fewer software engineers. But the other side says the cost of creating software is going to go down because of AI, and therefore more software will be created because when something's cost goes down, more of it will be created in general, and for that reason, there will be more software engineering jobs. And there is a merit to both of these arguments. It's impossible to know for anyone, which side is going to win out over the long term. But I'm personally slightly more optimistic towards more software jobs being created over the long term. And if you look at the present and the immediate future, there are a couple of positive signs as well. So this one is from May of this year that shows there were sort of a record number, 12-month high number of who is hiring postings on Hacker News in particular. And then
In fact, since I'm reviewing this video in October 2024, but I can see here that Dojo, whatever is saying, it was a little older data. And even the interest rate is going down. You can see that now new jobs coming to the market rate is very low. And its reason is that there are other important factor which is currently dominating to the inside the industry, which is primarily the requirement of revenue to the company. Showing the company's profit, showing the company's justification to the high level of investment done into the AI. So most of the company head or leads have a challenge. They are now unable to justify lots of AI cost. And so to survive his role, they are just trying to squeeze the number of employee, or anyway, they are just trying to squeeze down the cost. Then another problem, which is the industry's problem, is the middle management. The actual impact usually happen to the employee, which is impact is decided based on this middle management. And those middle management is the real problem most of the cases. They are actually don't understand the top vision, and they don't understand the lower people capability. Because these guys are, as the company grows, these middle management are becoming, knowledgeless, skillless. You would say anything for that middle management. And most of the company which are larger size, bigger size, they have a serious problem in middle management. So that's why things are also not logical, justifiable. So multiple factor here, right? You can understand multiple factor. One factor is the cost of AI put by leadership, especially in corporate environment, is too high. Now justification for that investment is definitely required by investor. To justify that investment, he has to prove the worth of their investment, and which is primarily not yet coming into the result. So that is another factor which is worried factor for my understanding.
This one is a news article that says 81% of hiring managers are optimistic about hiring plans for the rest of the year. So when you combine all of these different factors, facts on the ground, and different stories, what people are experiencing, plus potential effects of AI, my best educated guess is that in a few years, the market is going to be slightly better. There will be more software engineer jobs. That's my best prediction. I could be wrong, but that's where I am with this. And this is the question I get a lot, so I need to adjust this. Should I go into software engineering? If someone had asked me, should I go into software engineering just to make money in 2016, I would have said yes. It's a nice way to make money, just do that. But this year, I would say be careful about it. And part of the reason is because it's been a tough market for juniors in particular. So this is a graph that shows the number of jobs for different levels on Hacker News again. And if you look at the blue lines for juniors, both in absolute numbers and percentages, the number of jobs for juniors has been going down over the past few years. And I think juniors themselves, understand this dynamic to some extent. If you look at Stack Overflow 2024 survey, you find this question: are AI tools a threat to your job? And people who were learning to code were more likely to say, yes, they are a threat to my job than professional developers. At the same time, this is still a good industry in my opinion if you're like really passionate about it, whatever it is, right? Like not necessarily software engineering, whether it's QA or design or whatever that might be. If you're passionate about it, if you want to make a lot of contribution to it, if you feel like you can be one of the best, then definitely go for it. I would encourage it. But if not, be careful, think about it carefully.
I fully agree with CS Dojo here. This point is exactly my opinion is also. If you are really, really very good in the work, whatever you are doing. Now, very good means very good. Still, you get lots of dissatisfaction many times because the perks, the benefits, the increment would be not satisfactory for few years. That is possible. Even though you are a very good engineer, you are a very good programmer, you are a very good software engineer overall, still you will feel lots of, because at management level, they have their own opinion. They are not visualizing now coder or programmer as a high stake. Why? Because of this AI tools, they are assuming that going forward as AI tools will mature, probably any people who has a good experience, they can use these AI tools and write better code than junior or any single-headed one-directional programmer like competitive programmer or anybody else. So that's why that part is really, really cute. I mean, you have to be very, very um, open-minded in that direction and think in that way that, of course, if you are a very hardcore professional in your area, then definitely whatever is good for you is that you continue your direction. But if you are not good and still you want to go in that direction, then you should be alert now because that direction is not that much lubricative now for you. Okay.
And the final question I'm going to try to address in this talk is what can I do as an individual if I already decided to go into the industry or if I'm already in the industry? Some of you are maybe in that spot. In that case, I have 3 pieces of advice that I recommend. The first one is to be familiar with different models that are available in the market, different large language models currently, and understand, to some extent, you don't have to be an expert, but you want to understand to some extent what they're good at, which ones are better than which other ones, roughly speaking. Currently, if you look at this popular leaderboard, LM64, you see that Gemini 1.5 Pro is the most advanced model according to their metrics, but that's for the overall category. If you look at the coding category, you'll find that 12.3.5 is the most advanced model according to their metrics, and it has been regarded as the most advanced model for coding in general as well. So I would say learn about these different models, what they're good at, and basically find a tool that fits your job. The second piece of advice I would give is learn effective prompting. I think the example I gave earlier is a good example of that. It comes down to 3 things in my opinion. You want to make your intention really, really clear. You want to make your context clear and provide as much context as possible, maybe a lot of copy and pasting. And then you want to provide a lot of details in your prompts. And combining all of these, if that's not even enough, then you might need to go through a lot of trial and error to see what works, whether it's back and forth conversations or trying out different prompts. And then the third thing I would keep in mind is that there are different types of dev tools that you can use as a software engineer or a coder in general. We started with really auto-completion, code completion systems, kind of like Copilot. We moved on to chat systems, ChatGPT, other ones, Claude, more advanced chat systems, and then we also now have AI coding agents. I think the way I like to see is that part of your job as a software engineer has always been to understand what's in your toolset. Is it Google? Is it your code editor? Is it something else? Is it Stack Overflow? Those tools have always been in your toolset. What's changed with AI is simply that you have more tools in your toolset. Not any single one of these tools is going to replace all the other ones. Like AI coding agents are not going to replace the chat systems completely, and chat systems are not going to replace the autocomplete systems completely. So you want to understand that there are different tools available in your toolset now, additional tools, and as it's always been a job, as part of your job as a software engineer, you want to learn to use the right tool for the right job at the right time. I hope that makes sense. And I have to say, one tool and company that's been working on all of these surface areas actively is called SourceGraph Cody. It's a company I work at now, full disclosure, and I even gave a talk about it in San Francisco last time I was there.
So this is how they have concluded, and I think Hugh opinion, I really feel that he's right. But a few occasions I already mentioned that this is not the right suggestion given by him. Even not, I mean, it might be possible that whatever he has evaluated until now is not the correct evaluation in that sense. So that is what I feel, and I think that this much information is although okay. At least he has put some perspective for a software engineer to how to proceed further. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Bye. Take care, guys.